The twin sons of Zithara bathed the alien palace in molten gold, their combined light spilling across towering crystalline spires. From afar, the royal citadel looked eternal, unshakable. Yet inside its halls, beneath the weight of tradition and conquest, the throne of the Zyran Empire was trembling. King Varith, ruler of the most feared species in the galaxy, stood before his council of generals. His presence was immense. Black-scaled armor fused with flesh, glowing veins of bioluminescence wrapping his hulking body. Yet his face was heavy with something his warlords had never seen before. Shame. For beside him stood his daughter, Princess Arya. Arya was small, fragile by Zyran standards. Where her kin possessed towering frames and muscles that rippled like steel cords, she had thin arms and a delicate build, more akin to the humans her people often enslaved than to her warrior ancestors. Her scales were faint and pale, her energy core weak. She had collapsed during training, failed to lift even the simplest of weapons, and brought whispers of dishonor into the halls of her father. "She is an embarrassment," one general growled, his taloned hand slamming the obsidian table. "A Zyran heir should crush warships with her will. Yet she can barely walk without stumbling. She weakens the bloodline," another sneered. Varith's claws tightened around his throne's armrest. He had fought 1,000 battles, carved empires from fire and blood, and yet this frail child, was his heir. Tradition demanded that the strongest inherit the crown, but Arya would never survive the arena challenges unless he removed her from the throne entirely. That night, Varith summoned a human prisoner, Characterdriven, a captured soldier from the Terran resistance. Kale had been a thorn in the Empire's side before his capture, his cunning and stubbornness earning him both scars and a reputation. When he was brought before the king, shackled and bloodied, Kale expected execution. Instead, Varith studied him for a long silent moment, then spoke words no one in the chamber could have predicted. "You will take my daughter," the king rumbled. "She will be yours to command, yours to guard. A human life is short, but perhaps in your weakness you will understand her weakness. She is nothing to me now." Kale's eyes widened. "You're giving me your daughter?" Varith's gaze burned. "Not as a gift, as a sentence. Fail her, and you will suffer a death beyond imagining. But if you keep her alive, you may find purpose in your captivity." Arya stared at the floor, humiliated, her hands trembling as chains were removed from Kale and replaced with her presence. And so began an unlikely exile. Exile years. Kale and Arya were sent to a forgotten outpost on the edge of the Empire, a barren moon with little more than ancient ruins and wild terrain. It was meant as a quiet dismissal. No court, no throne, no eyes to witness the princess's shame. At first, Kale resented her. He had fought for freedom, only to become guardian to a spoiled alien princess who could barely carry her own supplies. Arya, meanwhile, despised him for seeing her weakness, for being the living reminder that her own father had cast her aside. Days turned into weeks. Kale hunted and built, while Arya struggled to even light a fire. Yet Kale noticed something beneath her frailty: determination. She failed again and again, yet she never stopped trying. Where many warriors would have hidden behind excuses, she endured humiliation silently and returned to practice the next day. One night, as the storms of the barren moon tore across their shelter, Kale asked her, "Why do you keep trying? No one's watching. Your father doesn't care. You could just give up." Her pale eyes glimmered in the dark. "Because if I stop trying, then they were right about me. And I can't live with that." For the first time, Kale saw not a weakling but a spark. And so, he began to train her. The human's teachings. The Zyrans prided themselves on brute force, raw power, and dominance. But Kale knew another way: human cunning, agility, and resourcefulness. He began small, teaching Arya how to balance her body, how to strike where an enemy was vulnerable rather than where they were strongest. She learned quickly. Her slight frame, once mocked, allowed her speed her kin lacked. She could slip between blows, strike at pressure points, and move like a shadow. Where her strength failed, Kale taught her weapons: blades, staffs, even human rifles salvaged from wreckage. More importantly, he taught her to think like a human soldier, to adapt, to anticipate, to endure. At first, her blows were clumsy, but after months of relentless training, Kale found himself sparring against someone who could match him strike for strike. He would fall back, breathing hard, only to see her standing tall, her eyes burning with the same fire her father had once carried. One evening, after a brutal training session, Arya collapsed onto the sand, laughing for the first time since he had known her. I never thought I could do this." Kale smiled faintly. "You're not weak, Arya. You were just taught the wrong way to fight." In that moment, something unspoken passed between them, a bond not of master and ward, but of equals.